What's going on, everyone? This is Fuego Steve, bringing you another edition of the NBA podcast. Today is November 1st. Happy day after Halloween. I got spooked last night with my lineups because they didn't do crap. But we're going to get back on track tonight. As usual, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Jaguar Lou. What's up, Lou?
What's up, Fuego? Yeah, my lineups didn't do that great, although I was in single entry things last night just because I wasn't too confident about the slate.
I. It's funny, that old saying, "Do as I say, not as I do." Well, I give out all these strategy advices. I write articles, contest selection, and then I don't follow my own strategy sometimes. So I'm going back to the drawing board tonight. I'm going entering the stuff I tell people about: the small rebound, the small dunk, the ones that only have 49 people in them. I'm gonna do some single entries that have like less than 100 or less than 200 contestants in it, entries in it, and really focus on doing what I tell people to do. Because I always get they're like, "Oh, Steve, yeah, that's what you're supposed. That's smart," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know," and then I don't do it. Same with bankroll management, but that's a topic for another day. We're going to jump right in. We got a huge 12-game slate, I believe, compared to last night where we could mess around. This is a 12-game slate, so um, you know, there are advantages to both small and large slates, but large slate, I think, and you can tell me if you agree. I think there's more room for error in a large slate. I don't know. Is that true or not? Because I feel like in that small slate, if you don't have that one guy either low owned or that goes off, even if he's a high owned guy and goes off, you're kind of screwed. Or there's one or two guys, but I feel like there's more room for error in a large slate where you could miss in one area. Now, you're not going to win a GPP if you miss, but you could certainly still do well. Like maybe the other night when I had that 2 points and still cash. What do you think, Lou?
I think that the smaller slates are benefit the professionals more just because they can cover more angles. I think these bigger slates allow not even 150 lineups to cover every angle in
Right.
GPPs, which is what allows for the random hobbyist to do well. Or us, considering, me and you throw 40 or 50 in, but we're still not always a 150 Sahil Sud, Big Papa Gates, that's next level stuff. And those players do see wins every night, and I do see patterns where they see wins on smaller slates just because they're able to cover more angles. If it's a 2-game primetime slate and you're entering 150 lineups, like, there's only so many ways you can go, And
Yeah.
I really wish I tested that out more with myself. I don't because I choose to prioritize in single entry to make my lineups better, hoping that one day, if let's say I win this weekend and I cash that ticket, hopefully one day I could really, put my heart and soul into it. But I prioritize on getting my lineups better, not necessarily max entering and.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great point. I just wanted to add to that because for Major League Baseball season, I started the season doing, like you said, 40 to 50 lineups in the $4 squeeze. Maybe even up to 100. I would never max it, which I laugh at myself sometimes. It's like, yeah, I do 40 or 50. Just max it one day and see what happens. But anyway, so I would do a bunch of lineups. I was doing okay. But then I changed. I focused down to 3 lineups, entering the 3 max and the single entry, spreading out those 3 lineups in different single entries. And I just took off, man. I destroyed, once I started doing that. And I think you made a great point. It helps you focus on creating the best lineup as opposed to if I'm doing 150 lineups, I'm just trying to get exposure here. Like in baseball, I was getting 10, you make 10 Houston Astro lineups, you make 10 LA Dodger lineups. So you're not really focusing on the ideal lineup or the perfect lineup there. You're more focusing on just covering all the Astros and all the Blue Jays, etc. So I think I'm scaling it back as well. I have been the past few in NBA. The first week I kind of went a little crazy, but I might end up doing 1 lineup, maybe 3 lineups tops tonight. in just some of these smaller tournaments, so I can really focus on creating the best lineup. So we're going to let you guys help you guys do that. And we're going to start off as usual at point guard. We have John Wall, who's the most expensive at 9.7. He's having a pretty decent year, but he's not hitting that ceiling. He's only getting 35, 45, 35, 45, hit a 50 earlier. So I don't think I'm going to pay up for Wall tonight on such a big slate. You got Damian Lillard 9.3, Kemba Walker 8.4. Kyrie Irving's a guy like at 8.4. I think I may have some Kyrie Irving exposure. I say this, if I'm doing one lineup, I'm not going to have much exposure to a lot of guys. So I'll try to concentrate on the guys I really like. But Irving is one of the higher end guys I like. Talk to me some high-end point guards. Any high-end point guards you're going to play tonight, Lou?
The high end, I don't mind, but I don't see too much of a ceiling for any of them. John Wall, Lillard, Irving. Irving, I guess, is my most confident play there at 8.4, like for cash games. But
Right.
I still don't see the need to pay up for any of them. I see a couple plays lower down that I really like, starting with Jrue Holiday. Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins obviously dominate most of the offense. But we looked at those DVPs, throughout the week, and I try to let you guys know to see what the patterns are. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are really bad against the point guard position. The other night, I told you guys that, and that it should have benefited you in terms of, in a roundabout way, because Jeff Teague ended up going against Goran Dragic, and I said it was a nice game stack. Jeff Teague ended up being the play of the night. He ended up getting like 59 points, which was crazy. But still.
In my write-up, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Goran Dragic didn't do, I don't think, as great as I hoped he would. But the DVPs are still there, so I expect point guards to continue to do well against the Timberwolves and the Lakers, which aren't on the slate tonight, I don't think, right? Because no. I was hoping they were, because I've been targeting point guards against the Lakers. So with that said, Jrue Holiday is my first solid play at 7,400 on FanDuel. He's got a nice floor. I know a lot of these games are without Anthony Davis, but over his last 5, 37, 33.5, 35.3, 46.3, and 30.8, all over 34 minutes. It was 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 36 minutes, 34 minutes. They obviously want him on the court. So in a favorable matchup, Jrue Holiday is a nice option at 7,400. Next, I liked Jeff Teague. He's been going crazy recently. But yeah, it was just that one game. I don't know if you have to go down to him, but I think in GPP, he's definitely plausible. And like Jeff Teague has the same floor and ceiling in my mind as Kyrie, or like a lot of these high range guys. I'm sold on them if you have the money, but in terms of GPP lineups, I'm definitely paying down for the most part.
I wanted to touch on that a sec. I have seen a lot of winning lineups recently do the pay down for 2 point guards thing. And the strategy for that is it's kind of like a running back who is getting the touches, or a quarterback. You'll see people pay down for quarterbacks all the time, because you know what? The variation between the highest quarterback and the lowest quarterback isn't as large because they're touching the ball they're throwing. It's kind of the same thing with the point guard. If you get 2 lower end point guards, they're still touching the ball the whole time. They're still directing the offense. One guy, we're going to talk about some of these low guys here in a second, but let's use Mike James, for example, from last night, who I think you could go back to again tonight. He was 4,500. I had him in a lineup with Westbrook. He destroyed Westbrook. He went for 46 points. Westbrook went for 33. So the other night I saw him, like a McConnell and Jack lineup. Those are some guys I like too. TJ McConnell at 5,000, Jared Jack at 5,200, De'Aaron Fox 5,300, Jamal Murray 5,200. You'll see these, and even if they don't get you 45 points like James did last night, Jamal Murray the other day, 27 points. Well, 27 points at 5,000 is 5x. And if you don't have other point guards that are going off, then you're being able to get the LeBron James and the DeMarco Cousins, Anthony Davis in your lineups. So I have seen that strategy work, and I certainly don't mind that strategy. So Dragic did okay yesterday. Lucky overtime. He almost got there. He's 6,900. Collison, who destroyed us yesterday at 6,500. I'm not going back there. That you can call it recency bias, but I'm not. You got Patrick Beverly at 5,700. This is the range I like, 5,700 down to 5,000, or all the way down to Mike James at 45. McConnell, Derrick Rose, Jarrett Jack, Jamal Murray, De'Aaron Fox. Talk to me about some other point guards, either low or mid range, that you like today.
I think Derrick Jack, in a weird way, is a cash game play. At 5,200, he's safer than you would think. His involvement in the Knicks offense is increasing, and
23 to 28 points in the last
more importantly, the minutes are there, and they're trusting him. And Porzingis doesn't have the need to. I think you'll see that Porzingis will find that he'll share the ball more. Porzingis goes lone wolf a lot because he has to. But Jarrett Jack's actually kind of a weird fit in this offense. I watched the games against Cleveland and against Denver, and he is involved. Like he'll hit that 30-point mark. I think 5.2 is expensive to pay for him, but I think you're getting the minutes tonight, and you're getting a good matchup against what I assume is Eric Gordon. Let me see really quick. You're getting a matchup against Eric Gordon. I mean, size-wise, I guess it's not the best matchup, but he's involved. So I like Jarrett Jack. And also, Goran Dragic is hurt. He's sick. So if he doesn't – and Whiteside is expected to play. And he went through shoot-around. He intends to play. So considering – the fact that Goran Dragic is ill and he's probable, but I don't see him going crazy. Chicago does show favorable DVPs for the point guards, for opposing point guards. And that's been Jerry and Grant all year. The numbers are pretty consistent around, for the whole year. So, if you see that Goran Dragic is hurt, I guess there is value in Tyler Johnson. There will be value in Dion Waiters. I can't get those guys right either. I don't think anybody can. I think tonight would be a Tyler Johnson night at 4,300, and he's always capable of going off when Dion Waiters is not on the court. He hit a 33-point game, 33.5 in 33 minutes. He's really a point per minute kind of guy. So if you give him the minutes, Tyler Johnson will definitely be a good lock. I think I'm gonna continue to see what this looks like, but I got to see how sick Goran Dragic is. It says he's ill, so if he's not playing, I would invest hedge lineups in both Dion Waiters, and then you could throw hedge lineups and put in Tyler Johnson. I think one of those guys should go off against the Chicago team that can't really guard the guard.
Right. Yeah, I love the Tyler Johnson play if Dragic doesn't go. They say he's probable. He left practice yesterday with an illness. They never get specific about these stomach bug, whether it's the flu, whether it's what. So I love that play. I always got to think for Tyler Johnson anyway. One guy we did skip over, I wanted to back up to Kyle Lowry at 7,500 going at Denver. Team implied totals 107. I don't mind Lowry. I could go Lowry at 7,500 today. And hope he gets that 5x. What's 7.5 times 5 is 37. Yeah, I mean, he can do that, and maybe hope for that closer to that ceiling game of 45, which he hit 46 2 nights ago, 37, 46, 39. I would take that. And so I did want to touch on Lowry there. And Patrick Beverly, I don't mind either at, what is this price? 5,700. I may have mentioned him. Any other? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in case you weren't coming back to me, let me just see. Conley noted that his availability for Wednesday's game against the Magic likely won't be determined. Okay, so this Memphis thing is crazy because they're both questionable, Conley and Gasol. So if one's playing, you got to play the other. If both of them aren't playing, I think you fade the team altogether. I think you fade the game altogether. But you got to monitor this because Conley without Gasol is a lock in my mind, no matter what the team is, and it just happens to be DJ Augustine, which is not the best defender. And even if they threw Evan Fournier on him, I see Mike Conley doing what he wants to do with no Marc Gasol on the floor. At the same time, if that happens, Vucevic becomes a lock. So it's you got to monitor that, and it's tough because it's an 8:00 game, so you might not get that information.
That's we talk about it all the time. You got to pay attention to the news. NBA, it's one of the biggest things that hour before lock, because backing up to John Wall a sec, I kind of glossed over him, but the team is implied totals 120, which I believe is the highest on the slate. It's an over under of 228. They're favored by 12 against Phoenix, but Phoenix, Phoenix was supposed to lose last night and got blown out, and they didn't. So, and the Wizards, so a buddy of mine, Matty Ice, is a big Wizards fan, and we talk about it. And the Wizards never blow anybody out. So, Wall is a good play, especially if Otto Porter is out, who's questionable. So if Porter, who has been really dominant so far this year, is out, that's going to open up even more usage for John Wall. So I will back off the step that I'm going to gloss over him. I'm not going to gloss over him. I'm going to pay close attention to the news, and I don't think I certainly wouldn't fault you if you wanted to pay all the way up for John Wall in that situation.
I don't see news here on Porter. Where do you see that he's injured? Because he's not questionable on FanDuel. He has no designation. And
listed questionable Wednesday. Wizards game notes is questionable versus Suns due to an illness. He's the blah, blah, blah de facto power forward.
What's up with these illnesses? What is this, Space Jam?
Yeah, man.
So maybe there's a little bug going around the league, but I don't see. So we got to monitor that. That's one of those things that, you check these RotoWire lineups and they don't really mention it. And then
you need to go to a different site, my brother.
Well, I just do this because I like the way they lay it out. And I get the updates on DK Live anyway. But I didn't get any updates. I don't
follow
think
Fantasy Labs and on Twitter.
Follow. I'm more of like a Control R kind of guy until it shows up. And then if I don't get the call from you before 7, then
RotoWire puts a good product. I used to follow them.
I love it. I like the interface. That's why, because I can't see. So
for baseball, they have a real good thing up there. But anyway, we're gonna move over to shooting guard. You got the Harden guy, 11,000. James Harden. I'm probably not going there again. I'm not saying no. I never say no on these guys. But I don't think because of the freak is on Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, I'm probably going to skip over Harden again. Then you drop a $3,000 difference down from Harden to DeRozan at 81. And you got Oladipo, who did well yesterday at 79. I don't like McCollum versus Utah. And I would definitely go down to Bradley Beal at 7,200 versus Phoenix, especially if Porter's out for sure. And Devin Booker, who exploded again last night. What he put up? 42. He had 46 the day before. Devin Booker at 7,200. His price isn't moving, which I don't get. After the Bledsoe thing, he started the season at 68. He's only up to 72. And I like Booker again for sure. Talking about some high-end or high-priced point guards today. I mean, shooting guard.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, I look at the DVPs and I check all that. But yeah, the first thing I noticed when I saw this slate was Booker's price isn't going up, and I don't know why. Because there's no Eric Bledsoe there now, and without Eric Bledsoe last year, his price would skyrocket. And tonight he's going up against Bradley Beal in a high-scoring game. He has such a low floor without. It's like I get it. His price has to stay low, maybe because of these floors of 18 when they get blown out, and teams could just guard Booker. But this isn't one of those teams. Bradley Beal is going to be on Booker all night. I have no problem rostering Beal and Booker going back and forth. But I think Devin Booker becomes your safest play at shooting guard at 7,200. I really don't understand how these algorithms work sometimes with FanDuel, because I'm looking at the game logs. I get why it has to stay low because he does have a low floor, but those are in very specific matchups, and I guess they don't take into account the favorable matchup. Like the
yeah, I don't even know what it is. Yeah, because even these guys that are above him, the Oladipos, the McCollums, Chris Middleton. I mean, he should
it's
be
just
the same or more.
It's usage. I think I really do. I just think it's more tangible things, not like Devin Booker is going up against skinny Bradley Beal. I don't think that those algorithms take that into account. I think it's some more tangible stats that they take into account, like how long they're on the floor for and past years, or I don't know. But
I don't know, man. I think it. But yeah, anyway, so what? I must have missed it. What are the besides Booker? Oh no, you just talking about Booker. Besides Booker's and these other guys you pay up for Beal going against him on the other side.
Yeah, I love Beal. I don't like McCollum. I would stay away from that. That's a slow paced game. I don't mind Victor Oladipo. He's been playing very well. You got to remember, if Miles Turner is back, which he's not, I do like that. Last night, other people came to show up for this Indiana team, so it's kind of more up in the air than it was originally when you could just say, Victor Oladipo will kill it. But I think tonight he's being guarded by J.R. Smith. Let me make sure that's correct. Really quick, I just want to make sure that's correct. Hold on. And if he is, I think you could fire him up. Yeah, he should be. Also, I do believe in paying up for James Harden again. If you have the money, I think he can hit 60 tonight against a Knicks team that I know very well. I'm sure they're going to
60 yet this year.
I know. I mean, well, that's it. It's not going to
rebounds that have been down.
Well, the thing is like, look, they have Courtney Lee guarding him tonight. Like, Courtney Lee was responsible for a Knicks team that constantly was in the top 5 percentile of allowed points last season to opposing shooting guards. Courtney Lee was supposed to be the shutdown defender coming over from the Grizzlies that was going to help the Knicks, shut down guys in the past like he has in the playoffs with the Grizzlies. But he isn't that guy. Last year, the Knicks allowed so many points to opposing shooting guards, and Courtney Lee is the leader of that position. So right now they have James Harden guarding him. I can't see that staying consistent through the game. I'm sure they'll switch Harden onto him at some point, but if they have the Rockets winning this game, which they do, if you have the implied total there, tell me. But there's not many guys on this team right now.
Yeah, they're 109 and they're favored by 5.5.
I do like Capella.
Yeah, I could get behind Harden, I guess.
But I think like Harden has 6.4 RPM on Fantasy Labs. If you look at these stats, it tells you about the matchups. 2.5 plus minus and 1.4 fantasy minutes per game. I just think if you actually look at the matchups, like the Knicks don't have anyone to guard him, and then like who else on Houston is going to score? So I see Capella very plausible, but a lot of his points come off assists from Harden. So that's a nice correlation you have there.
Yeah, you could also go down to Eric Gordon at 64.
And then Eric Gordon. But beside that, I think Trevor Ariza and Tim Hardaway are a wash. If you want to consider this a revenge game for Trevor Ariza, go for it. But I don't think he thinks about the Knicks ever. I think he remembers being a kid here. But the game is and Capella against Cancer I love, but Ryan Anderson is not gonna, I don't think, to put up too many points against Porzingis, and Porzingis has so much usage. When we talk about power forwards, you can't really say no right now to rostering him or at least having shares of him. But when you look at Harden, 11,000. What is he? 11,000. 11,000. That's not enough to keep me off of him. Like I said, when we were,
I could see that because out of you got the Greek Freak, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, they're all more than him.
Well, yeah, it's like that whole middle range is just kind of, it's kind of nothing really gets me. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, I guess, would be something I would do in hedge lineups. I would do DeMar DeRozan, and then I would do Kyle Lowry, but in a cash game and a GPP, if you're only going to put in one and hope it wins, I'm going to go Devin Booker and James Harden and start there, especially since I'm so confident in some of these lower guys. I really don't think what's his name is going to play Dragic, just because If he's just getting put on the injury report today about being sick, then he's probably just getting sick today, which would indicate that he's not going to play if he's sick.
I said yesterday afternoon. So either way,
yeah.
That's a good point with Harden. We like Booker and Beal. You drop down, like we mentioned, Eric Gordon. I think you go Andrew Wiggins again at 63. I like these guys in the $5,000 range. Gary Harris, Will Barton, the ever never-ending story of who's going to do better, but I've gotten them right recently, so I do like Harrison Barton. Tyreke Evans is interesting on Memphis, especially if Conley sits, because you think his usage, he already has pretty good usage. Tyreke Evans has gone 35, 30, 28 his last 3 games, fantasy points wise, on FanDuel. So at 5.4, that's a good price for him. And then you drop down to see, so here's some of the other guys that you could essentially play. Dwayne Wade, you could play Lou Williams, Terrence Ross. So there's some lower end guys that you could match up if you just wanted to go Harden. If you didn't want to go too high end like Booker and Harden, there's some guys. Or if you wanted to pay down for 2 shooting guards, any lower end shooting guards you like tonight?
Yeah, I got a real sneaky play here. Not too sneaky. So with Redick out the last couple of games, let me just see. What is he? He's probable. So they're bad against the shooting guard position as it is. You got to look at that Atlanta-Philly game because Philadelphia allows. Let me get this up. The most points in the league over the last 5 games to opposing shooting guards, and that's not a coincidence. That number rose 5.1 points over their season average compared to their last 5. Their season average is 59.2 points allowed to opposing shooting guards, and that's because Redick has been out. They were bad as it was, and without him, they were worse. So I think it's safe to say shooting guards against the 76ers are fine. And at the same token, the Hawks are up there with allowing the most points in the league consistently at 61.6 points season average, 62.4 points over the last 5, which ranks second worst in the league, and 61.6 points in the last 10. So what I'm getting to is basically Kent Bazemore is a viable option if Redick is out. If he's in, I still like him. He's very cash playable at that low price if you want to get someone like Harden in there. And then on the other side, I don't really like
It Redick. Says Redick's probable to play.
Yeah, but I wouldn't start him. But lower back. Let me see. Past he doesn't really. He has a ceiling of 32 this year. I don't think.
No, I wasn't saying to play him. You're talking about.
No, I know. But no, because I was gonna say if he's on limited minutes, you could do another shooting guard for Philly. But no, I think in this whole narrative that I'm talking about, Kent Bazemore is what pops out a little bit at a reasonable price.
Right, but what I was saying is if Redick plays, though, then wouldn't that be
no, because their season average is still high. It's still at 59.2, which is the Atlanta and 76ers are far and beyond the worst teams in the league against shooting guards. You could roster – no, I wouldn't say both of them because I wouldn't roster Redick tonight. I think Bazemore just becomes the play. Just to put this in perspective, for season averages, the Atlanta Hawks allow 61.6. The 76ers allow 59.2. Those are the 2 worst teams. The next worst is the Nuggets, and they're at 51.3. That's an 8-point difference from the second team to the third team. And when you look at these stats every day, that's very high. So I'll tell you, I look at these every day, and having 8 points of a margin between the second worst team against shooting guards and the third worst team is very high. So, I think Bazemore is a very plausible play at that price. And, yeah.
All right. So, it sounds like I like some of the guys below Bazemore better, even in that spot with the Harris, Tyreke Evans guys, Will Barton at 52. I don't think I'm paying down for anyone. I'm not going under 4,000 today on this huge slate. I think you're going to limit yourself if you do. You would have to get lucky with one of these guys like the Norman Powells and Jared Smiths and Tony Snells of the world to have a big 30-point game, I think, to take down GPP, because I think these others, there's so many other shooting guards on this slate. Moving over to small forward, you have the Greek Freak at 12.6. I don't think I can go back to him at his price. I think I'd rather play Harden at 11. His past 2 games have been a little low for him. They got crushed last night by Westbrook. Was just amazing, man. Westbrook's just so good. But I'd rather pay for LeBron at 10.4. I love his deflated price, if that's what you want to call it. He's 10,400, and hold on one second. He was 11.3, so his price dropped 900 from last game. So LeBron versus Indiana, I keep doing that. Indiana is in a good spot. I like him. And some of these mid-range guys, Jimmy Butler versus New Orleans, I'm not sure I'm going to do. I could go to Covington at 6.4 and Gallinari again at 6.1. Any of these high-end guys you're going to pay up for tonight, Lou, specifically LeBron?
I do like LeBron, but let me just throw this out there. I think I will be paying for Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. If you look at these DVPs, which are pretty ridiculous, I don't know what is going on here. I'm going to have to take a look at this. I think it's because of the return of Kid Gilchrist, but Charlotte is allowing 55.8 points to opposing small forwards, which is, that's I guess the best way to label a Antetokounmpo. Although you can say he's a power forward, you can say he's everything, but he's a small forward at best, or if you whatever. And they've allowed 55.8 in their last 5, which is exactly since Kid Gilchrist has come back. And that's 55.8. That's a full 10 points higher than what they allow on the season average. And 55.8 ranks highest in the league over the last 5. If you don't like Antetokounmpo, that means other pros out there don't like Antetokounmpo. So if you're telling me,
I wouldn't say that because
no, I think it's a valid thing to say. And if you're telling me at low ownership, and I think just me knowing, talking around the industry this morning, seeing Twitter, getting our questions on Twitter, and people that I talk to in the industry every day, I don't think people will be on Antetokounmpo for the exact reasons you mentioned. And
the point total, his implied team total is only 99.8, 100. And LeBron is 114.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I might do a LeBron lineup and a safer lineup, and then you can simply switch out 2 players in a core lineup that you like and put in Antetokounmpo and have exposure to a player that, has such a high ceiling that in certain situations you need him to win. That happens. And if you can get him at low ownership, especially against a team that is allowing 10 more points in their DVPs over their last 5, and that's not a coincidence. It's because Kid Gilchrist came back. Like, they're a little bit, their identity is messed up. They're a little bit messed up. So, and maybe Kid Gilchrist isn't ready to come back. Who knows? But I don't think it's a coincidence that over
they did show Marvin Williams covering the Freak.
But either way, like I said the other night, the DVP show against the position, and that is a large number for a small slate, for a small sample size. But the thing is maybe if I go back, I'll check. If I have time today, I'll tweet it out, and if it makes sense. But maybe maybe the Hornets, maybe I have to check their allowed points over the last 5. If they're allowing points through the roof, I can fire me up some Antetokounmpo. I don't have a problem with paying a little bit more for that's a GPP play for sure. But
just for the $2,200, I think I'm going to go LeBron and try to go elsewhere. If we drop down under, so I assume. I don't assume. No love for Butler, Fournier.
No.
Covington, Gallinari, any of these guys?
Butler is just not consistent enough to payout right
Yeah,
now.
I think I'm going to pay down for my second small.
Well, the funny thing is, like, it's crazy. Like, Jimmy Butler deserves to be 10-4 at some points during the year, but he's 7-9 right now. So it's not even like you're really paying up for him.
No, you're not.
But it's just like, I don't think they know what's going on with him yet. His numbers are all over the place.
The good thing is his minutes are there. He's no less than 35 minutes this season. He's still putting 30 up as a floor. But where's these ceilings coming? They're not coming. The points aren't there. You got Karl Anthony Towns. He was the only show in town for the Bulls last year. Now he's got Wiggins. He's got Karl Anthony Towns. He's got other players.
His floor is a lot lower than 30. Just so you know, he's become one of these. He had a 21-point game this season. That is ultimately his floor. If he is even one game, even if it's a 1-game sample size, and he's 33 minutes on the floor with 23 points, like that's a problem. Jimmy Butler is a player that should be involved in the offense, and he's not the kind of guy that should be anywhere near less than a point per minute. So I don't know what's going on. So I'm not taking a chance on him. My more confident plays, I guess, is T.J. Warren. I like in that high total. He started off low last night, and then he came back. You texted me. Yeah, you texted me halftime. You were like, I need Warren. And then, I think he had maybe 3 points at half and 35 points. I think he had 3.8, if I remember, at half, and then he maybe ended with 39 or 38. So he got there. He's one of those players that it's just a matter of time. And if Otto Porter is out, I think you fire him up in most formats.
Yeah, his price still hasn't changed at 5,100 for sure.
Well, it's because they got this guy Josh Jackson. That's very impressive as well. But I don't think he's impressive enough to really pose a threat unless he's starting.
Would you go Kelly Oubre at 5,100 if Porter's out?
GPP, I have no problem. But like I said, if you're going to go down to these players that are low, you don't want to fill the rest of your lineup with these minimum mid-range guys. If you're going to go this low, I suggest doing stars and scrubs. I like Antetokounmpo as a GPP play, and I like Harden. So you lock those two guys in there, and
Well, then we need some scrubs. So down here in the small forward, Oubre 51, Ariza 5,000, Wilson Chandler 49, King Gilchrist 45.
I'm actually going to try to do most of my value at point guard. So I'm hoping to roster Warren and Antetokounmpo together. I like Warren a lot, especially if Otto Porter is not doing too well. Even if he is, Otto Porter has led up massive games to players, and Warren's just one of those guys. He's involved in the offense. It's not that he's matchup proof, but he's just always involved in the offense, like especially with a center position that they don't know what's going on. And Marquise Chris is like a 3-point shooter, and he's their power forward. Like he's always grabbing boards. He's getting a lot of blocks. Even in games like last night when he had 3 points at the half, he managed to, get 38 by the game. And he's the kind of guy that you want on the floor when you're mounting a comeback or you're trying to save a lead. So he's really just, I think at 5,100, he's too cheap. So I'm trying to get Warren and Antetokounmpo in most. With my core, it's leaving me with $5,000 for my remaining prices. And I'm considering Devin Booker a $7,200 superstar tonight. So I really hope he goes low owned. I know he won't, but FanDuel's got to get with it because his prices are just too. I'm not going to say low. I mean, they are low, but it's 7,200. So he's mid-ranged for a guy that has a great floor and his ceiling is 70. We know not 70 fantasy points. His ceiling is 70 points. We've seen it, So it's just like for 7,200, he's gotten 46 and 42 over the last 2 games. So these are just things that I'm locking in. I'm really trying to get, just to sum it up, Antetokounmpo and Warren. And if not Warren, I would probably go down to James. I do like your James play, and maybe I'll go a little bit safer of a play. Maybe Covington is a safe play at 64, and I have no problem with, I guess, no, I wouldn't go to Gallinari in a slow-paced game, and I guess Fournier is my next favorite play against Memphis, but that's a weird game too. So yeah, this mid-range is kind of weird. I would stay away from Fournier and Covington and Gallinari. Covington. Stay away from Gallinari and Barnes. Like all these mid-range guys are very weird to me. These are slow-paced games, And that Covington's the only one I like in that $6,400 range. Sorry,
I
I had
think
a
you can go Jaylen Brown at 53 versus
yeah.
Sacramento. At Warren, we said Oubre, I think, especially if Porter is out. GPPs, you could take a chance with Wilson Chandler again. Besides that,
You can go Trevor Ariza if you want to go real crazy. I mean, he did play for the Knicks. He is matching up against Tim Hardaway. I would stay away from that actually.
Bojan Bogdanovic did well again last night at 29 points versus the Kings. He had 27 the day before, 24 2 days ago. So 3 of his last 4 he's gone for 24 at
they're realizing
4,100.
Somebody has to step up for this team. I mean, you have to check their record over their last 5, but they lost a major part of their offense. I mean, I have to continue to monitor them, but I thought it was just going to be a Thad Young, Oladipo show when I first saw that Miles Turner was out. But, I guess some of these other guys are playing a role. Bogdanovich did great. Collison showed up a couple games. He hasn't showed up where I've wanted him to. I called him twice when he hasn't done too well. But, this offense is a lot more than Oladipo, and they don't have much of a bench. So, I don't have a problem going Bogdanovich if he's in the starting lineup, especially, let me check his matchup really quick. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Because if he's matched up against, hold on. He's matched up against LeBron James. So I have no problem with the Bogdanovich play, actually. I like that because, the Cavaliers actually allow the most consistently high points to opposing small forwards simply because LeBron is just so involved offensively. You can't be a star offensively and defensively. But actually, if you look at the DVPs, Bogdanovich at 4,100 is actually a very solid play considering his game logs, his favorable matchup. You just got to hope he's able to guard LeBron James and he doesn't get into foul trouble. But I have no problem going that low.
Yeah, for sure. Small forward, it's weak again, so it's a place that you could take a chance going low. A real chance would be putting Antetokounmpo and LeBron and not playing any of the other guys. That's one way you could handle it to break up and be a different type of lineup. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather go LeBron and the guy I'm going to talk about now at power forward, who I've talked about how I've been reluctant to play. I'm always reluctant to play, but Anthony Davis is in play for me for sure tonight at 11-8 going against the Pelicans. I mean, not going against the Pelicans, going against Minnesota. I like it. I like Anthony Davis. Porzingis has been a beast. He's 9.7. His price started the season at 8.2. He's up to 9.7, but that's because look at his last 3 games: 52, 52, 53 points. I mean, he had that 1 16-point game, but besides that, he's got 46 more points in every game. Ben Simmons, we always talk about being a beast. He had his first. Well, not his first. He dropped down a little to 40 points last time. He didn't hit 50. And then Blake Griffin, who's going a little under-owned with the rest of these guys. And I probably am not going to go to Griffin tonight just because I think I'd rather go Porzingis, Simmons, or go Anthony Davis and a lower-priced guy who we'll talk about. Any of the high-priced power forwards you like tonight, Lou?
I don't mind Anthony Davis. Porzingis' usage is so high, like I said before. I don't think Ryan Anderson is going to be too much of a match for him. The DVPs indicate that the Pacers are the worst team in the league. I told you many times that Young, especially without a big man next to him, he's dealing with Sabonis there now, which I ended up mentioning in the chat yesterday. It was a good play late. If you want to get our most recent information, go in the chat room right before a lineup lock. You could see what we're talking about. I think I wrote in big caps Sabonis because he is a good play in certain situations. Tonight he's not. I think Tristan Thompson shuts him down. But Thaddeus Young is a very bad defender. So what am I getting to here? Where's Kevin Love? Why is he so low? Where is he?
He's center.
Oh my God! Yeah, sorry, forgot about that. So on DraftKings, consider Kevin Love definitely a play. He has a high floor over his last 2, no matter what his minutes were. But considering we do FanDuel mainly, I'll talk about that when we get to center.
He's 75 on DK.
Yeah, I like him tonight. That matchup is kind of nice. Porzingis is just too high of a usage to phase. So if you have money for him, I have no problem. Ben Simmons, I don't mind. He's involved in the offense so much. If you watch one of their games, you'll never fear rostering him because he is just the guy on that team. Like,
how about a guy who's come on strong? Sorry to interrupt. Who's come on strong a little bit recently? Paul Millsap. He went 32, 42, 34 points. He's still priced lower than he was last year at 7,100. Going against Toronto. Any love for Millsap?
That sample size isn't consistent enough for me to invest too many shares in. I will say the DVPs are favorable. Toronto is ranked third worst in the league for a season average against power forwards. And they are also, their DVPs shot up to 58.7 allowed points to opposing power forwards, 5.5 points more than their season average when Ibaka was off the floor. So I would have liked it if Ibaka was still injured. But they do allow a lot of points to opposing power forwards. So the DVPs do show that the Paul Millsap play isn't bad. But 7,100, it's like, do you want to take a chance on Paul Millsap? I don't mind Paul Millsap as a play. It's actually kind of safe. But I hate that $7,100 price just because I think there's guys that are lower that are have that floor. He doesn't have much of a ceiling right now on his new team. You don't see Denver, I don't see Denver giving him the ball to shoot 25 times and him having a real ceiling. I think you cap it at 40 something, and for 7,100, considering he has a floor of 13, it's not something I'm too confident in. But like I said, the DVPs are favorable. The Raptors are bad season wise, and worse without Serge Ibaka. But we just got a Leonard Fournette full participant in practice. Let's go.
So then tell me about some of the lower-end power forwards you would pay for then. Jason Tatum, Thaddeus Young, Kelly Olynyk, Serge Ibaka at 5,300, John Collins for Atlanta, 5,300. He's played okay. We got Aminu, but he's going against Utah, so I'd say no to that. Ryan Anderson against the Knicks. Nowitzki, 5,100 at Clippers. Any of these lower-end guys that you're going to pay for? Or that you like?
I think Marvin Williams could be a plausible play against if he goes up against the Freak guy. If that's a close game, he could benefit defensively and offensively. So I would go that low at 47. He has one cap game at he has one game with 36.7. That was 2 games ago, and that was in 30 minutes. So he's definitely the kind of guy that can get hot, especially if he's guarding someone that is the main offense for their team. I'm not trying to go that low, but when you look at these other choices that are a little lower, a lot of them aren't plausible at all. In fact, Saric started the other night. I wouldn't go there. Crowder, I wouldn't go. Tyler Gibson, I wouldn't go. Jarrell Martin, I wouldn't go.
Back to Zach Randolph at 45. Yeah, I think.
Did you watch that game last night? Because I called him and I watched the whole game, and it just got me furious the way he played, how slow he was. I watched almost that whole game. I had it up on my screen, and if you watched him last night, Zach Randolph doesn't look right. They featured him a little bit. He was in the perfect matchup last night. I said it, and he got into foul trouble early, but that really didn't even. That wasn't why he had a bad game. It was really just he got featured, he got his points, but he couldn't recover from coming off early. But he was only in foul trouble for the first quarter, so it's you can't say that's why he got 18 points. If he got 28 points, I would say okay, that's an excuse. The foul trouble. He wasn't on the floor for 4 minutes, and then he came back and he had to be a little tentative, but he wasn't looking good. So I wouldn't go back there.
I think Ibaka is my favorite down there at 53. maybe Ryan Anderson at 52.
Ryan Anderson is plausible in GPP. I would never go Dirk. You just can't.
I like the Thaddeus Young. You could do Thaddeus Young at 58 and pair him up with, let's see, Anthony Davis.
Well, the way this is looking is, I kind of like some of that value at small forward. And sometimes you have to be able to separate the idea of this is a great play or this is a great play at a position that has no value. So on a day where I'm not like, I like a lot of these upper range power forwards, and I really do love Anthony Davis, which is going up against Minnesota. Minnesota allows tons of points to opposing power forwards, 56.4 in fact. Over their last 5, their season average is a little bit lower. But I like Anthony Davis tonight. So, as I dive into this a little further, and, you realize things as you continue to look at these lineups all day. But, I try to pay up for those. I try to pay up for people everywhere. But on a night where power forward is limited, Anthony Davis and like Ben Simmons, and that's worth more to me than going up to a Antetokounmpo right now for my main lineups. Like Devin Booker is 7,200 and he's reasonable. So you can find these guys that have similar floors and ceilings that aren't so high priced. And at power forward, where you can't find these guys today, Anthony Davis, I'm trying to fit in here with this Bojan Bogdanovic at small forward. I'm trying to figure this out right now. But Anthony Davis could have a high ceiling tonight in a high scoring game. That is if he doesn't stub a toe or something. He has 61 points in his last 2 in 36 and 41 minutes. So, it's a night where you might have to just pay up for him, or you might have to go Porzingis and Simmons or Gordon. See, I like Gordon maybe if Marc Gasol's not playing. That's as low as I would go in a confident play.
Yeah, I like Davis a lot tonight. I think some of the lower end guys are, like I said, Ibaka, but I'm not sure I'm going to go much lower. Marquise Chris hasn't really done it for me. Linnick had a good game. He's 57, but I think I'd rather go Ibaka. So, we're going to try to pay up if we can, or match him up maybe with a Thad Young or something like that. Going over to the center position, we have Davis's partner, DeMarcus Cousins. It's hard for me, last year I kept thinking, well, one's going to have a good game and one's not. And that sort of is how it worked out last year. But there were times they did both have good. But this year it seems like, besides last game, they're both scoring 60 points, which is crazy. Last game.
I'm expecting that not to happen tonight, hopefully, because I do like Jrue Holiday, as I mentioned, and all 3 of them going off typically I think would be rare, having high ceilings, that is, but I think it's one or the other tonight. I wouldn't do both. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would either, and the fact that it's Cousins versus Karl Anthony Towns, so I like Towns. I mean, Cousins I think is probably, the higher ceiling, of course, and maybe the better rebounder there, but they're matching up against each other. I'm not sure I'm going to pay up. They're the 2 most expensive at 11.7 and then 9.8. I'm never going to say no, but I think there's some other centers here that we could get pretty good value for. As usual, it's pretty deep here, and you only get 1 on FanDuel. So I'm not sure I'm going Cousins or Towns. Whiteside's still questionable. Joker, man, he hasn't really done it, got that ceiling yet, but I'm a sucker for Joker. Now, one guy who I don't mind is Joel Embiid at 8,200. He's got that limit, which is annoying, but he's still 46, 32, 38, 39, 38, 37. I mean, these are some big points. You're not going to get that 50 game out of him. But I don't mind Embiid. Like we said, Gasol's questionable. Rudy Gobert, probably not against Portland. So what I'm looking is, again, in this $7,000 range to try to find somebody. If you go all the way down to 6,000, you have Marcin Gortat. You got Sabonis again, who you said you didn't like as much, but he's 6,000. Above them, you got Al Horford at 7, who I don't mind. Dwight Howard at 7.4 versus Milwaukee. DeAndre Jordan 7.5. Clint Capella 7.6. You mentioned Kevin Love at 7.7. So this is the range that I kind of like tonight. Talk to me about some centers you like. Are you paying up? You paying down?
I couldn't agree more with you. I'm not paying up for Towns. I mean, if I were to pay up for either Cousins or Towns, I would pay up for Towns, but I'm not doing it. You just can't pay up everywhere. I don't like Jokic. I don't like Gobert. I think everything relies on the Marc Gasol news for me. If like that news literally is dictating my lineup, so I need to wait to see how Marc Gasol and Mike Conley are going to, if they're going to be playing today, how much they're going to be playing. If Marc Gasol is not playing, I think you have to lock in Vucevic. If they're both not playing, I think you definitely have to lock in Vucevic or Vucevic on Orlando at 78. I think that's your highest ceiling at your lowest price. I do like Kevin Love also. I like Clint Capella. So all three of those guys, 76, 77, and 78, I have no problem with. Those are my favorite plays on the day. I know Joel Embiid has a high floor, but he's on a minutes restriction. I just can't do it.
Would you play him in cash?
Not for 8,200. No, not with a minutes restriction, and not for 8,200. Because cash lineups, although it's like 5 people or whatever you're playing, you're still playing against guys if you're playing high dollar that are smart, and they're smarter than to pay 8,200 for a guy that doesn't have a ceiling. Like I think Vucevic actually has a 60-point ceiling with no Marc Gasol, and he has a 40. He's hit 60 before. He's hit 55. He hasn't hit 60 yet. He's at 55, 50, 47, and he's been a little slow over his last 4, but he's been on the court. So, except for one of them against San Antonio on my birthday, so on the 27th. So, yeah, like Vucevic is a great play with no Gasol. But then with a Gasol, he's absolutely not a valid play at all. Yeah, and you have to go elsewhere. So that Memphis news is huge. A little bit safer, I would say Capella. And his cancer, like I always say, is not a good defender. He didn't play them. He didn't start in OKC over Steven Adams simply because he wasn't able to defend like Steven Adams can. He didn't run the court the other day. New York, they benched him for a bit. He's just not a good defender. He's a very good offensive player, but I could see Clint Capella and Harden being a nice correlation play. And lower than that,
Todd at 6,000.
Yeah. He's nah. No.
You think Thompson's going to stop Sabonis? So you don't want to go to there.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. Like I if anything, I would do a hedge with Thad Young if I'm really bored, but that's not worth it to me if you're just doing a couple lineups. Just really quick, I'll mention the DVPs like I like to for every position.
So who does Louis Binder like tonight? If you give you guys a little background, Louis, I met Lou at the FanDuel Finals last year, and he had the biggest binder. I talk about going to websites. We use the optimizer, and he had the biggest binder in the world, paper with all kinds of information and plays. And I loved it. And then he was like, well, I guess the binder's not at the end of NBA season.
I just, it's funny. I threw that thing out. Yeah, I'm not a computer guy, so I'm all analog. If I'm max entering, I max enter with my I click every single lineup. It's crazy, but I think that the human element is a big play in fantasy. So my binder play of the day at center, I'm gonna say. Let me see really quick for cash. So cash. I would say your play is Vucevic if Marc Gasol's out. If Marc Gasol's not out, you go Capella. Those are your cash game plays. But I actually think that the GPP play, if there's no minutes restriction on Hassan Whiteside, let me see. He went around shooting. I don't see a minutes restriction. If he's playing tonight, Hassan Whiteside's in a good matchup. That's a crazy GPP play. But my safest plays are Vucevic with no Marc Gasol. I think that's very safe, and he'll get a lot of rebounds. And if you want to hedge that play, you could do it with an Aaron Gordon in your lineup because he'll grab the rebounds if Vucevic doesn't. And usually those are two things that I do a lot, either Vucevic or Gordon. That's a good correlation for hedges. But Capella, I think, is your safest at 7,600 against a New York team that can't guard the center position. But like I said, you can go any one of those three, and they're all in the same price range. Just wait for that Gasol news, and if Gasol's out, fire up Vucevic. If you want, Kevin Love could even be a safer play with a little bit less of a floor, but I think Kevin Love is guaranteed 40 points tonight as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that once again, because of the just because of the talent, probably, but and because the fact that we can only use one on FanDuel, that center is very deep again tonight. And it's hit and miss. I see the lineups. Last night you get Sabonis in there. And then you see another lineup with Drummond, and then you see a lineup with Cousins one night that's up there, but then you see one with Alex Len. So I think it just depends on what you do with the rest of your roster. So if you're paying down, you got to make sure you're making up those points. Like for example, so since there's only one spot at center, and let's say DeMarcus Cousins is the highest scoring center and he goes for 55 points that night. Well, if you go Alex Len and he goes 25, there's 30 points you need to make up elsewhere in your lineup that other people will lose, that they paid up for Cousins. So, we talked about it yesterday. Always compare a couple players, match them up, take 2 versus 2, see who you like better, and that kind of thing. If your option is Cousins at center and then going Mike James at point guard, and you think their total is going to be better than going John Wall and Alex Len, that's what you do. And also, not just the total, and it depends on your game. If you're cash games, you want to look at the floor more, in my opinion, and you want to look at the ceiling more for sure in the GPPs, which is one reason Lou doesn't like Embiid, because of that ceiling, which is why I'd asked about cash, because I thought the floor would be pretty safe for cash. So I don't think I'm going way low tonight at center. You got these guys in the $4,000 range, the Mike Muscalas, the New Orleans Noel, the Alex Len at 43. I don't think I'm going there again. If it's a mistake, then so be it, but I'm not doing it. I think Gortat might be the lowest I would go. JV, he's playing, right, for Toronto tonight at 5'8"?
Yeah, he is. What's funny? Now I'm doing some of this lineup construction. One guy I didn't mention that I really like a lot, Courtney Lee. I think his usage is like way high with Jared Jack.
Homer alert.
Yeah, I think he had a 36.5 game. He should have done better against Denver, which scares me, but I might be coming off Harden and going to Courtney Lee in a weird way. I obviously think Harden's going to get more points, but for his $4,700 price, it makes your lineup construction a lot easier, especially because I like Kent Bazemore as well. And I have a lot of these low price guys that I like all around. The shooting guard position, the small forward position. I'm just saying that because as I continue to do lineup construction, the power forward position is where things get difficult. So I just constructed a nice lineup with a couple of my value plays that allow me to go high at the power forward position. I could do Davis and either Griffin or Simmons or Porzingis, and I have to tell you, it's a good feeling to be able to do that. It's because it's making me feel better, because this shooting guard position is what is scaring me tonight. So a lot of this is, me being down at Mike James at 45 and Drew Holiday and all these mid-range prices, but I like the ability to pay up for power forward tonight.
I think. I think,
or at the very least, Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap at 71 is like, a nice, and Aaron Gordon is a nice luxury, but anywhere below there is really tough.
Yeah, so I think the way to do it is to pay down a point guard. There's no Westbrook on the slate. John Wall is the top dog there, and if you really wanted to, I could see it, but I think I'd rather go down at point guard, even mid-range, pair up a couple mid-range. You pair up like a Jarrett Jack and a Beverly, you're only spending 10-9. You pair Jamal Murray with someone, Jamal Murray and let's see, Mike James, for example. You go Jamal Murray and Mike James, you're spending less than $10,000 at your 2 point guard spots, and you could go up, or you can play up for 2 shooting guards. And I always recommend paying up or down for shooting guards, except for those Gary Harris and Will Bartons who I like. All right, let's see. I don't think there was any other. I don't really have any sneaky plays at center. JV, interesting though.
If Hassan Whiteside doesn't play, if Marc Gasol doesn't play, everything gets readjusted. So if you have any questions, DM us. We can let you know where to go in those positions. Robin Lopez isn't the best defender, so Whiteside could be a very sneaky GPP play if he gets all of his minutes, because Chicago doesn't do particularly well against the center position. And I don't know if I'm going to tell everyone, follow Hassan Whiteside on Snapchat and Instagram, because this is part of the reason I love him. He is such a weird, crazy guy. He is such a weird dude. He's in his big mansion every night, and he does these live Instagram feeds, and he is so funny. One time there was a dead bird, and he goes, "I'm gonna make sure we find out who killed you, man." And then he goes to the fish that are in his aquarium, and he's like, "Do you know what happened to that bird over there?" And then the fish starts swimming away, and he's like, "We got a runner, we got a runner." It was really funny, and he's a funny guy. So Hassan Whiteside, don't. Like I always say this, weather in baseball, injuries in basketball, you're not thrilled that he's coming back off an injury, but those are GPP plays that keep players low owned. So if you really want to go, if we get the word that Whiteside's playing and he doesn't have a minutes restriction and his knee is fine, I think at 9,200, that's a great, he's in a good matchup if it was a regular game. So just see, I guess maybe you can log on to Reddit and check out the live stream of the game, see how he's warming up. If he looks good, you fire him up. I don't mind Whiteside tonight, oddly enough. He's it's weird because he's coming back off his first game, and you would think I'm not confident in him, but he's the kind of guy I don't think he'll allow them to let him play and not physically dominate the game. You know what I mean? That's the kind of guy he is. He's really, and he won't be on the court. If he's on the court and not contributing, he'll get 2 technicals before you know it. That's the kind of guy he is. So I do see him putting up big numbers eventually, and why not take a chance on him in 1 lineup, 2 lineups? Hopefully he's under 5% owned in GPPs because of his knee, or maybe we don't get the news in time, or maybe Goran Dragic's out and he's in. But either way, I do like his matchup tonight if it was a normal game, and assuming he's healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Great points there. All right. Well, me and Lou going to have to finish up our articles. I always say we give the most in-depth analysis on the podcast. So if you have a chance listening on your way home from work or sitting in your office, you can sneak it, listen to these podcasts, because we get more in depth than we do in the write-ups and in chat. But the write-ups are to help supplement this. Give us your favorite plays, and then chat's really, you really should take advantage if you have time to get into the chat the hour before lock. News starts coming out, we start posting news, we start changing. Sometimes your opinions do change, and it matters on that news, or just throughout the days. You look at another hour, we're recording this, it's about 4:30, we're finishing up. Something can change. So
Fuego, just a quick point. It's not that our opinions change. A lot of people say, you wrote this guy up, or you mentioned this guy and then this. It's really that injuries and matchups change. My facts that I say don't change. It's that, if Marc Gasol's not playing, it becomes a completely different game. It's like taking Kershaw off the mound. It's not even the same game. So, if you see me say something and you think that, I expressed a lot of love for Harden or Antetokounmpo, which I do love, but then you see my lineups and I end up having Davis and a whole bunch of exposure to Conley, That's because I monitor literally up until lock. And that's, I think, the biggest advantage you could have as if you want to play DFS for professionally. You have to be there monitoring lock. Like, that's why they had to take away late lock for NBA, because professionals were just taking advantage and waiting at 10 o'clock. And, how many people are willing to sit by for every single game lock to be next to, the
Right.
lineups and make sure that, everyone's starting. And if someone isn't starting, where does the exposure go? Like, that's why they had to do that. They took that away because it was too advantageous to the professional. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be meticulous about it, but make sure you're starting guys. Make sure the matchups are consistent until 7 o'clock lock. You really have to make sure, because that's something that is a very important skill in DFS.
Right, for sure, and it's the biggest for NBA, and that's why I don't think a lot of people like it. You can set your NFL lineup days before if you want. You can, if you have the batting order, you can set your baseball lineup because the batting order is out. But for NBA, it literally, and 9 times out of 10, it comes after lock. That's 7:05. They say, "Oh, this guy's out," and you're screwed anyway. But all right, so that's gonna do it for today's November 1st NBA podcast for ScoutDFS.com. Myself, Fuego Steve, and my partner here, Jaguar Lou, doing our best to get you all the good information we can. Check in on our write-ups and check in on chat. All right. So for Jaguar Lou, I'm Fuego Steve, and good luck.
Be good, guys.